In the dim light of a flickering campfire, a group of friends gathered, their faces illuminated by the dancing flames. They had ventured into the heart of the ancient woods, a place whispered about in hushed tones, where shadows stretched long and the air was thick with the scent of pine and mystery. As the night deepened, the laughter faded, and a palpable sense of anticipation filled the air. Someone suggested they share stories of legendary monsters, those fearsome creatures that haunted the edges of folklore and imagination. The first to speak was a tall man named Ethan, his voice low and steady. He began with the classic tale of the dragon, a creature that had slumbered in the depths of mountains, guarding treasures beyond imagination. Dragons, he explained, were not merely figments of fantasy, but had roots in the ancient world. Many cultures spoke of them, from the fire-breathing beasts of European lore to the wise, benevolent dragons of the East. They were often depicted as symbols of power, wisdom, and chaos, reflecting humanity's deepest fears and aspirations. Ethan recounted the story of St. George, the knight who had battled a dragon to save a princess. The tale, he noted, was more than a simple story of good versus evil. It was a metaphor for the struggle against one's inner demons. The dragon represented the challenges and fears that one must confront to achieve greatness. As he spoke, the flames crackled and the shadows danced, making the stories feel more alive, more real. Next, Sarah, a history enthusiast with a penchant for the macabre, leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She spoke of the Kraken, the legendary sea monster said to dwell off the coasts of Norway and Greenland. Sailors, she explained, would tell tales of great tentacled beasts that would rise from the depths to drag entire ships down into the abyss. While many dismissed these accounts as mere superstition, Sarah pointed out that the stories likely had roots in reality. Giant squids, once thought to be mythical, had been discovered in the deep ocean, their massive forms lending credence to the sailors' fears. The conversation shifted as Jake, the skeptic of the group, interjected. He argued that monsters like the Kraken were products of human imagination, born from fear of the unknown. People have always been drawn to the mysterious and the terrifying, he said, creating stories to explain the unexplainable. He cited the example of the Chupacabra, a creature said to prey on livestock in Latin America. The Chupacabra, with its spines and glowing eyes, was a modern myth, a reflection of societal anxieties about agriculture, disease, and the unknown. Yet, as the night wore on, Jake's skepticism began to wane. The stories, rich and vivid, painted images in his mind that were hard to shake. He found himself drawn into the narrative of the Wendigo, a creature from Algonquin folklore, a spirit of hunger and greed. It was said to be a man who had turned to cannibalism during a harsh winter, cursed to roam the forests eternally, driven mad by insatiable hunger. The Wendigo represented the darkness that lurked within humanity, a reminder of the lengths one might go to survive. As the fire crackled and the wind whispered through the trees, the group began to explore the idea that perhaps these legendary monsters were more than just tales. They were reflections of humanity's greatest fears, manifestations of the struggles and challenges that people faced in their lives. Each story was a mirror held up to society, revealing the darkness that lay beneath the surface. Emily, a quiet observer until now, finally spoke up. She shared the story of Bigfoot, the elusive creature said to roam the forests of North America. Emily argued that the legend of Bigfoot was rooted in the very real experiences of those who had encountered something inexplicable in the wild. The vastness of the wilderness, with its uncharted territories and hidden secrets, left room for the imagination to run wild. Perhaps Bigfoot was not just a monster, but a symbol of the untamed nature that still existed in the world, a reminder of the wildness that humanity had lost in its pursuit of civilization. The discussion shifted again as Ethan brought up the Mokele Mbembe, a creature said to inhabit the Congo River basin, often described as a living dinosaur. Expeditions had been launched to find this elusive beast, but it remained a mystery. Was it a remnant of a bygone era, or merely a figment of local folklore? The debate raged on, with each person contributing their thoughts and theories, weaving a tapestry of ideas that blurred the lines between fact and fantasy. As the fire began to die down, casting long shadows around them, the group agreed on one thing. Monsters were not merely creatures to be feared, but symbols of the human experience. They embodied the struggles, fears, and desires that lay within each person. The stories told around the campfire became a way to confront those fears, to explore the darker aspects of humanity in a safe space. With the embers glowing softly, Jake pondered aloud about the nature of belief. He wondered if belief in these monsters, whether real or imaginary, served a purpose. Did they help people cope with their fears, provide a sense of community, or even offer moral lessons? The legends, he mused, were like cautionary tales, warning against the dangers of greed, pride, and the unknown. As the night deepened, the friends found themselves lost in thought, each reflecting on their own fears and the monsters that haunted their lives. They shared personal stories, revealing vulnerabilities that lay beneath their bravado. The conversation shifted from legendary creatures to the real monsters they faced daily: anxiety, loss, loneliness. In the quiet that followed, Sarah spoke again, this time with a softer tone. She shared a story from her childhood about a fearsome creature that lived under her bed. It had been a source of terror for her, a manifestation of her childhood fears of the dark. But as she grew older, she realized that the creature was not real. It was a symbol of her anxiety and insecurities. In confronting that fear, she had learned to navigate the darkness within herself. Inspired by her honesty, the others began to share their own childhood fears, the monsters that had haunted their dreams. Ethan spoke of the fear of failure, the dragon that loomed over him, threatening to consume his aspirations. Jake admitted to his fear of rejection, the Chupacabra that lurked in the shadows, preying on his insecurities. Emily shared her struggle with self-doubt, the Wendigo that whispered lies in her ear, urging her to give in to despair. As the fire flickered, casting shadows that danced on the trees, the group found solace in their shared experiences. They began to see their fears not as monsters to be defeated, but as companions on their journey through life. The legendary creatures they had discussed earlier took on new meanings, becoming symbols of the challenges they faced and the resilience they possessed. With the embers glowing softly, they reflected on the nature of monsters. Were they rooted in fact or mere fantasy? Perhaps they were both. The legends and myths served as a canvas upon which humanity painted its fears and desires, creating stories that resonated across generations. The monsters were not just creatures lurking in the darkness. They were reflections of the human experience, reminders of the battles fought within and the strength found in vulnerability. As the night wore on, the friends made a pact to embrace their fears, to confront the monsters that haunted them, both real and imagined. They would no longer allow the darkness to consume them, but would instead seek to understand it, to learn from it. The stories of legendary monsters became a source of empowerment, a reminder that even the fiercest beasts could be tamed through understanding and acceptance. As the first light of dawn broke through the trees, casting golden rays over the campsite, the friends sat in silence, contemplating the night's revelations. The fire had burned low, but the warmth of their shared stories lingered in the air. They had ventured into the realm of monsters and emerged with a deeper understanding of themselves and each other. In the end, the legendary monsters were not merely products of fantasy or folklore. They were intricately woven into the fabric of human existence. They reminded us of our fears, our struggles, and our resilience. As the friends packed up their campsite and prepared to leave the woods behind, they carried with them not only the stories of legendary creatures, but also a newfound appreciation for the complexities of the human experience. In the days that followed, the tales of the campfire lingered in their minds, serving as a reminder that monsters, whether rooted in fact or fantasy, were a part of their journey. They learned to embrace their fears, to confront the darkness within, and to find strength in vulnerability. The legendary monsters would always be there, lurking in the shadows, but they were no longer something to be feared. Instead, they became symbols of courage, resilience, and the enduring power of storytelling.